So with the recent announcement of the new for 2023 Cedar Point spinning coaster, it made me want to make another video on the best coaster park on planet Earth. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. It is not, however, going to be on the new coaster because like look at it. What do you really want me to talk about here? Like, come on. I will, however, talk about the trend that it represents for the park, because it kind of seems like Cedar Point has a big problem that they need to address. See, for the past ever, Cedar Point's big shtick has been that they're on a peninsula completely surrounded by water. It also has the best coaster ever built, but that's besides the point. Now, I will admit, it's pretty cool being in a park completely surrounded by water. Going up Millennium Force's lift hill and looking to your left to see a massive lake is pretty much unmatched in terms of lift hills, though I will say I don't really know how much thought parks really put into their lift hills. But there's a beach at Hotel Breakers, you can ride a boat into the park, and there's a great view of the top of Dragster when it was open. All of these great things on the peninsula, with the only drawback being the bugs at night, right? Wrong. You see, there's a much bigger issue, and that is of space. Cedar Point is just running out of space. They filled that entire peninsula with coasters, rides, and restaurants, and they have nowhere to go. This is a problem a lot of parks have where they want to expand, but they just don't have room to expand into. And for a lot of parks, this is easily fixed. Just buy more land. But for Cedar Point, that's simply not an option unless they try and build a friggin' saltwater park or something. So it's left the park scrambling to figure out what they're going to do when they want to build a new coaster. Now, the first option they have is to take out a coaster and replace it, and this is what they did with Wicked Twister. It took up a pretty significant spot in the park, not significant because it took up a lot of space, but more just because it was right in the boardwalk near one of the main entrances into the park. Like, bro, that's prime real estate for that. To be honest, I'm not actually that torn up that we lost Wicked Twister, because even though I didn't get to ride it, it's Wicked Twister. I mean, it's just an intimate impulse. Like, there are a ton of these. And I know there are going to be people crying in the comments like, but costumes, there were 2 twists. But like, yeah, I get it. There's like, it was big and a little unique, but like, honestly, it doesn't fit in with the rest of Cedar Point's unique record-breaking coaster. It was just kind of another coaster. It had awful capacity, a yellow that hurt my eyes to look at, and it was always broken when I went. So when Cedar Point announced it was gone, I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't really care. But here's the thing. While it's fine for them to remove Wicked Twister for a small edition like this spinning coaster, what are they going to do when they want to add the next record breaker? I've speculated in the past what they're going to add next to Top Steel Vengeance, saying it would be a 500-foot T-Rex or a full-scale 4D coaster, but what I didn't take into account is where they would put this monstrosity. Like, these aren't small coasters. These are some of the biggest coasters out there, and with the T-Rex, it's literally going to be the biggest coaster you could ever build. So again, I'm going to ask, where are they going to put this thing? You can't just take out another small dud like Wicked Twister, because A, it wouldn't open up enough land, and B, there just aren't really enough small duds anymore besides like Corkscrew. But that's on the midway, so they can't really replace that with anything of substance. Plus, it's a cool spectacle, and that's something so iconic, I doubt the park would want to get rid of it. And surprisingly, it still gets decent lines, so like, it's not going anywhere. In order to make space for one of these monstrosities, they're actually gonna have to start taking out real rides that are actually good. The first obvious axe is Gemini. I'm surprised this didn't get taken out before Wicked Twister. It takes up a massive footprint, it rarely gets super long lines, and while some people say it's a great ride, you can literally see Steel Vengeance from its entrance. 2 hybrid coasters, one is the best in the world, and one is like 50 years old. But even that might not free enough space for like a T-Rex or a 4D coaster. At most, you could cram in like a Smiler type ride with super compact inversions for the inversion record. But if they want to go big, they're gonna have to remove other stuff with Gemini. That could be Magnum, that could be Camp Snoopy, that could be Dragster because of the accident. Who really knows what Cedar Point is willing to give up? The only other coaster that frees up enough room to actually build something substantial and that I could actually see them taking out is Raptor, but even that doesn't bring that much space. You'd probably also need to get rid of like Blue Streak, and even that would be cutting it close. Like, you see what I mean? No matter what you do for this prophesized record-breaking Steel Vengeance topping coaster, there's just not enough room. You'd have to remove at least 2 coasters and maybe a Camp Snoopy area to just put 1 coaster in. This is a problem Cedar Point has and will always have because, like I said, they're a peninsula. They simply can't expand. And you know what? Even if they finesse this problem by just removing Gemini and squeezing the coaster into that medium-sized plot of land, this problem is still gonna exist. They can squeeze every inch of every bit of land that they have from removing a coaster, but there's nothing they can do after that, and they're just gonna have to do it all over again with a whole nother ride. They kind of lucked out with Steve because that took an old structure and redid it, but that's not gonna happen again unless like a Steel RMC starts where they take steel coasters and redo them, but that's stupid. Now, there is one solution I can think of, but it's maybe one of the worst solutions I've ever thought of in my life. This would be an easy fix for the park, but it would just make the guest experience like a lot worse. The solution would be to expand into the parking lot and make the remaining parking lot into like a preferred parking lot so that the majority of Cedar Point's guests would park not on the peninsula and you'd have to take a bus over. Now, this would be terrible for the guest experience. You'd have to get up earlier, you'd get back later after a long day, and you'd have to pay for the service that was previously not free, but not this expensive. So you just have to pay more for something you don't need to. Now, at first this might sound absurd, but honestly, I don't think this is too far out of the question. Magic Kingdom at Disney World already does something where you gotta take a bus or ferry or a monorail that's like similar to this. And to be honest, it kind of sucks. I don't know a single person who likes this system. If like you like this system, then you're weird. I don't know. But Cedar Point is trying to be like the flagship coaster park in the US. They're trying to be more like the Disney, but for roller coasters. So this would make sense to make it more like a larger scale adventure, I guess. Like it's different from your average Six Flags park. It would also add a lot of value to hotel breakers. It's already great staying right next to the park and just walking there in the morning, but now if you can't even get on the peninsula normally, I'm sure a lot more people will be inclined to just bite the bullet and go to breakers. But besides this parking lot idea, I really don't know what Cedar Point's gonna do. If they keep removing and replacing coasters, they'll A, never get the record for the park with the most coasters, and B, they'll start to lose that well-rounded collection of basically every single coaster type you could imagine, and that's not ideal. They're gonna lose some really good rides to put in more really good rides, but it's just not gonna have that full experience that it's always had. And that's basically it. That spinning coaster just kind of got me thinking why they're building it, and this video is the result of that. Actually, I do want to talk about that spinning coaster a little bit. Not really layout-wise, because there's not really a lot I can say here, but I do think it's a good addition for the park. They need more family coasters because right now you kind of just go from Blue Streak to like Corkscrew, which is already a big step, to like friggin' Roo or something. It's also cool that they're actually building more theme sections to the park. It's not just like random rides, and then boom, Frontier Town. Now with this whole boardwalk thing, it's starting to feel more like a cohesive park with actual themed areas. I don't think I would call them fully fledged lands because like they're not, but there's definitely effort here and it's not bare minimum either. So good job, Cedar Fair. While Six Flags is like falling apart, you guys are making the smart plays. Anyways, that's just gonna about wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed and thank you for sticking around to the end. Uploads are gonna be a little more sporadic even though they never really became consistent over the summer, but because the school year is starting, I'm gonna have very little time to edit, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna hit that 30 video quota I was kind of hoping for it. But I do want to say we're really close to 50K, and if I could hit that by the end of the year, then that would be really cool. So if you're not already subbed and you watched this very mediocre costumes video all the way to the end, then you probably should just subscribe because you definitely at least somewhat like these videos and there's plenty more coming. Anyways, enough of that. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.